of my favorite things to find out is what's going on with AFS, because we're talking about foreign exchange programs and all the cool things. And I've had just the great honor of having some of the kiddos in my class. And so we've got a big treat. Barbara's here. Barbara, thank you for just staying on me and saying, we got to come on. And you know how it works with me, because I'm so scattered.
But it always works.
It always does. Tip that mic down. But you have got some beautiful ladies here and a wonderful young man. I'm assuming you're a host family, or is that the case? I'm going to let Barbara, can you introduce everybody for me?
Well, I'll let each one of them just introduce themselves.
Okay.
And what they actually are going to represent today. I think that's a little bit easier. I'm the PR for the Miss Tingey area AFS, and have been working with them for about 40 years. So we've seen a lot of students come, a lot of students go, a lot of new families. That's true. So I'm going to let this young lady introduce herself first and tell you where she is and the school that she's in, because she is in Metro Nashville.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Tilda. I'm from Germany, and I'm staying here for a year.
Okay.
And I'm going to school in Nashville, exactly.
Okay, which school in Nashville?
It's the KIP. It's KIP. It's like multiple schools, and I'm in one of them.
Okay, very good. And you said you're going to be here for a year. When did your visit start, and when does it end?
I arrived here in August, and I'm staying 2 more months until June.
Until June. That's wonderful. Well, welcome. How old are you?
I'm 16 now.
16. What grade in school are you?
I'm in junior year. I would be in 10th grade at home, but they put me in junior year.
Okay, very good. Well, welcome. Go ahead, Barbara.
Very interesting about her.
Turn that microphone to you, Barbara.
Right. She also is going to be the Girl State representative from her school this year.
Okay, so the Girl State, what does that mean?
Well, this is where we study about Tennessee government.
Oh, and so you're doing, really?
Yes.
Well, how impressive.
It's really cool. I can stay in a dorm for a week in the college. It's really cool. I'm excited.
Which college?
It's Lipscomb.
Yeah, Lipscomb. That's my alma mater. Thank you very much. I'm a Lipscombian. But, yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Well, see, that just shows how you've excelled here to get picked to do that. That's just a statement for you right there that you're really, taking full advantage of it. That's awesome. And say your name again for me.
Tilda Schoppenberg.
Tilda.
Exactly.
I love that name. Tilda. Schoppenberg?
Schoppenberg.
Tilda
Very
Schoppenberg.
good.
That's a very German name. I love it. How lovely. That is awesome. Now, who is this next lovely lady? Turn that microphone right to you.
Well, hi, my name's Facia Carrier.
Say that first name again.
Facia. All my friends, my family just call me Fifi.
Fifi, I love that too. Well, and this is appropriate considering where you just returned from.
Yes, ma'am. I just returned from France. I was there for 5 months from the middle of September, and I returned at the end of January.
That is so cool. So you were there for Christmas.
Yes, I had an awesome time for Christmas.
Oh, how did your family deal with you being there for Christmas, though? Or did they come see you?
Well, my actual family, I called them for Christmas, and then they actually sent me a gift. They sent me a card with just hello, hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
I think they sent it more to my host family than to me, but
oh, how funny. That's great. But and now how old are you?
I'm 15 years old.
15 years old. And your parents let you go to France. I think that's wonderful.
They barely let me go.
Well, but I think that's wonderful. I was saying as we were kind of getting settled, I wish I had known about foreign exchange programs as a kid, but then I think I would have probably been a big old chicken because I grew up in the Vietnam era and I've just got some things from my childhood that are, it made me afraid of everything. I don't know if I'd have been brave enough to have done it, but I just really admire you guys for doing it because, oh my goodness, what an opportunity. I mean, that's just cool. So hats off to your parents for letting you go at 15 to France, to Paris. What part of, you were in Paris?
I was in Semur.
Okay.
Western France.
Okay. So how close is that to Paris? Did you get to go to Paris?
Yes, actually. It was like, I think a 3-hour train, 3-hour metro train trip from where I was to Paris. And so the first time I went there was when we arrived there. We got to go on Le Loire. My pronunciation's going to be butchering stuff, but we got to go on the river. We got to go on a little trip around the Seine. And then the second time I came there, I think it was with my friends before she left. I had a few good friends. She's from Argentina. She was there for 3 months. And before she left, she took me and another friend from her school to Paris on a little trip before we left. And then the last time I went was right around Christmas. Me and my host family, they're really nice people. They're super nice people. I love my host family. And they're very friendly people. So we stayed with another friend, at a friend's house for a while. And while we were there, we got to go see Paris for a few days. And we actually got to go see a carnival. It was my first time seeing a carnival, and it was a great experience.
How fun. What a great experience you had. And how's your French?
While I was there, I was pretty fluent. I still call my host family every Sunday. So I call them, I talk to them. I'll tell them how school was, how I'm improving on my French. And I think my pronunciation has gotten a little worse since I've came back.
Of course it has.
It's definitely gotten
You're
worse.
in Tennessee because you're up in you're from Clarksville, and not. I love our accent, y'all. I think it's warm and just. Do you like our accent?
I love the accent.
I knew you had to because everybody's like, we just love hearing y'all talk. You know. So, but I mean, we do have a very distinct accent, so it'd be very hard to not, kind of lose some of that French elegance of the language because it's a very elegant language. It's just beautiful.
Language.
Yeah. Well, very, very good. Very cool. I love that. And now, who are you, young man?
I'm Eric Miracle, and
Okay.
I am a host father of Tilda,
Okay.
and I'm also a volunteer with the AFS chapter here, and I'm a liaison, so I'm a contact person for some of the other host students and their families.
Okay. Very good. Now, how long have you been involved with AFS? As
Um,
long as Miss Barbara Will's here?
No, not as long.
She's a hero of this program. I mean, like I said, just forever. So go ahead. How long have you been involved?
I've been involved with locally for just the last year.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful, though. What made you get interested in AFS? What flipped the switch for you?
I was actually a host student myself, an
Oh.
exchange student myself back in my high school,
Okay.
and I spent a year over in Finland.
Nice. That's fun. Do you still have contact with your family?
I do.
Yeah. And that's one thing I think is so wonderfully just beautiful about the foreign exchange program is the relationships that are maintained across the years. My daughter-in-law's family, they had, I want to say a young woman from Argentina or something like that. And she's involved still with it was her mother's family that hosted her. And this is like in the 70s. I mean, yeah, in the 70s. And they've stayed in touch. And I know that when my daughter-in-law's mom turned 60, they took a trip and she met them. And it was just, you know what I mean? It's just that relationship still to this day, all these years later. And that just speaks so, profoundly of what the program is all about. So are you excited then? So this is your first host kid?
It is my first host kid.
Okay. How's he doing?
Oh,
He's
pretty
doing.
good. It's fine. Yeah.
Putting you on the spot. Putting you on the spot.
I think they've
So-
seen a lot. I think they've seen a lot of ball games.
Are you a sports person?
We actually really enjoyed when Unlimited, the UA, the women's
Oh yeah,
was
basketball.
here.
Yeah,
Basketball was here in February. We
Okay.
got season tickets to that and went
fun.
to
It's really cool.
we went
Okay.
every game that we could get to.
Okay. Do you like basketball?
I started playing here because I wanted to try something
Okay.
new.
Okay.
And so I was not that good, but it was fun.
Okay. So do y'all have basketball in Germany?
We do have it, but I've never really played. Like,
Okay. But it's not like it's I mean, I'm from Kentucky. I mean, you just that's our state just north, of Tennessee. I'm sure
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know now. But I mean, basketball is like it's almost a religion.
in Germany, we are all about soccer. Like, we
Of
don't care about
course.
anything else.
Of course. And so what would you say would be, let's just jump back over to anything you want to add before we move back to, questions come to mind as y'all start these conversations. And
Not at the moment. I'm good.
okay, well, if you need to jump back in, just let us know. Where do y'all live though?
We live in Inglewood.
Okay, yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. Very good. Awesome. And so as far as what you've got going on here in America, what would be one of the things that you would say is one of the most unique differences? One of the things that you're like, what in the world are y'all doing? Is there anything like that?
It sounds maybe a little sad, but the people are so friendly. Like, the people just look at you and ask you how you're doing, and
Oh,
and probably we in Germany we say the Americans are fake, and probably it's a little fake, but it's just nice, and I'm really happy when people, I don't know,
Oh,
People
how
give compliments,
funny.
and they're just nice.
I just love how you and you're just being so real with us too. And thank you for that. She's like, in Germany, we say you're all fake, but I get that because honestly and truthfully, we all have our stereotypes of other countries. I mean, in other, just anything that's different from us, we all think we know until we do. Right. And so now you know, and you can go back and say they're genuine. They're real.
That's
they're really
nice.
that
That's
nice.
being nice.
They're really
Maybe
that
we are
nice.
just rude.
That's funny. That is so funny. Your family's going to be like, watch it. So, what would be one of your favorite things here? One of you, other than the nice things. So, pick something. Do we have a food that you don't have back home that you're like,
I have
man?
a lot of food that I don't have. I think I love to try all the new things. I've not like one thing that I love from the food. It's all very fried.
Yes.
Like, no, I love trying the new stuff.
We do fry a lot of stuff here. Yeah, I'm not a fan of all the frying, but it's okay. It's okay. But yes, we do tend to fry a lot of things. But okay, so now, Fifi, back to you. What would be the thing that you found most unique about your experiences that was so different for you? So go ahead and turn that microphone to you, sweetheart. So the thing that you're like, wow, what are they doing? So what would be that?
Well, to compliment what you said, everybody's very blunt. It's they're not being rude, but they'll tell you like if they're bothered by something, if they're happy about something, they want to do something, they'll tell you straight up. And it was really like a kind of a breath of fresh air. I was really scared when I got there because I heard that people were blunt, like from people who had the experience going there. I told people are very blunt, like they'll tell you what they want, they'll tell you what they mean. And when I got there, it was just very easy communicating with people. And then a very close second to that, the metro system. Ooh.
I was going to ask you about that because you mentioned getting on the train to go to Paris and thing. I had one of my children studied abroad, and he was just like, I love their train system, and it's just something that is just, people just can't even imagine. I can't because I've never been, I've never traveled beyond, as far as I've been, is just this continent. I've been to Mexico and Canada, but I've not traveled beyond this continent. So, and I would love to, but I've heard that from so many people that have traveled in Europe that it is just phenomenal that you have the option of going from country to country just by getting on a train. And that just to me is wonderful. I just think that would be fun. I would love to just, take, it's like I hear a lot of students, it's like, I'm going to take a gap year and go to Europe. I'm like, you go, like you can, why not? If you can manage it and work your way through and do it, have that experience. But I'm so thankful that my son was able to do that because it was really just a breathtaking experience for him. And something else you said, talking about the bluntness though, in the United States, we call that a Yankee. I'm sorry. I forget. I'm being, where are you from?
I'm a Yankee.
I thought so. Where are you originally from, Barbara?
What?
Originally, where are you from?
Greenbrier.
Okay. Are you always from Greenbrier? Did you grow up in Greenbrier?
My dad owned the grocery store in Ridgetop.
I did not realize that.
Gosh.
Oh my goodness. How that is, your accent does not say that.
Well, it took a lot of speech classes.
Yes, and see, in the
And also, speaking a couple other languages does change your pattern.
yes, it
And
does.
When the other thing is, if I'm on radio, I do remember my speech classes, which is that we do have INGs. We are going, we're not going.
Yeah. Yes.
Little things
Yes.
like that you remember.
Yes.
That's probably why.
Well, and the same thing with me. If you hear me talk with the rest of my family, even though I do have a very heavy accent, it's nothing like it was for, my brother and I. He's got a pretty heavy old country drawl, but it's just delightful. But I'm just teasing you. My husband is from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. He is a Yankee, and so
Lived up in Upper Peninsula for
where?
Hancock Houghton.
Okay, now he'll have to tell you.
It's
I'm
up on
familiar.
the-
He's
up on
from
the finger.
Norway. Okay, he's from Norway, Iron Mountain, all up in that area.
Okay.
So yeah, but you and my hubby could talk. But
My best friend here is from Iron Mountain.
oh, really? See, look at this. I just love that's what we do here. We just sit and chit chat. I told them too coming in. We have tentatively. I thought that we had confirmed. I thought we had confirmed Clint Wooten for the 7:30 slot, and nonetheless, he is not able to come in. So we just may hang on to you guys for an hour and talk about your experiences, because we're talking about the foreign exchange program, and just the need to find host families. I'm starting to think back on the things that you shared with me, getting ready to have the girls come in. We've got to get ready for next year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And we have 700 students
Wow.
who, at this point, need placements for next year.
700.
700.
How many would you like to see here locally? That in this,
As many as we can.
how many do we have right now?
In our whole Miss 10 Key area, the Miss 10 Key area is 4 states:
Okay.
Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. So this year we have 17 students,
Okay.
or have had 17 students. What really gave us a shock was COVID. We were doing 30 and 40 students per year. And it's been more difficult since that time, mainly because we were not able to get into the schools and do things that we were doing before.
Right.
We're gradually trying to get back into the schools so we can let people know what we're actually doing.
Gotcha.
As I'm the PR, it's too big an area for me, and I'm trying to get some of our other volunteers to certainly take on areas, and that's to get the word out.
Right.
Just like this morning, last night, I did like next door and things like that to let them know that we were going to do this morning.
Right.
So hopefully some people would be able to get up early and maybe come.
Yep. Turn that microphone to you.
Out of those 17, 8 of them are actually in the Nashville area
Okay.
or the metro area.
Okay.
And we do a lot of the students. We've had the opportunity for the students to meet together during the course of the school year and get together, and they've been able to develop friendships within that group, much like Cece over here was able to do in France with her friends.
Right. And see, and I think that's it. I know I hear about all the different things because we've had some of the students come through Greenbrier, and it is just such a wonderful, rich experience. And what a lot of people don't realize too is, I know some say, well, I could never afford to do that. I couldn't do this. And there's scholarships available. As far as would this be something that you girls would think that your parents felt like was a financial burden, or were there things that helped financially to make it easy for your families to do this? Go ahead and pull that microphone over to you, Tilda.
I didn't get a scholarship. I tried.
Okay.
But it worked out anyway, so I'm glad I'm here.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are scholarships available, but you can, if your parents can handle it, or if you can raise your own funds.
I think there are different kinds of scholarships. Some
Okay.
if your family can't afford it and you need financial aid, but then there's still some that are not connected to that, and you can just apply because you're a great person or whatever.
Okay.
So yeah.
And you've got the academics background to support it. You look like you have something, Barbara.
Well, there are scholarships through AFS, and then there are also the cluster scholarships, and which you went to the cluster meeting in Washington just recently, right?
That's correct, I did.
So you want to speak about that a minute?
I can't, sorry. I don't remember
That's
that
okay.
much about them.
We'll talk about that later.
I missed that session.
Well, should hear, like this week, the winners of the scholarships like Flex and
Okay.
Nestle, and yes, we had, I believe, 27 applications that we interviewed for. So we should be knowing if we have any of those students. They all do not come to us with AFS, but the one thing about the scholarships, if a student gets those scholarships, that pays for everything and $200 a month. as a
Okay.
stipend. So the reasons they were established is because many very good students, families could not send them, even though they wanted them to go. And so it is a great program. We are together with a consortium. So we're just one of the exchange organizations that actually send students through them.
Right.
Of course, we're the oldest. We've been around for 77 years and actually have done more about sponsoring and our students than probably any other group. There are good groups out there. We're not the only fish in the sea out there. We just think we're better, of course. We're a little bit prejudiced, but we think we have better support because all of our students have to have a liaison like Eric. And one of them might speak a little bit about who's your liaison.
My liaison is a lady named
Okay, let's
Corey.
wait until we get that microphone back over to you. Go ahead, Tilda.
My liaison is Corey, and she's really nice. And we talk about once a month, either on the phone or in person. And they're just checking in, asking how you're doing, like not depending on the family, just independent. And it's great because you have somebody to just talk. If you have something to talk about, then you can just talk. If not,
Right.
that's fine.
Well, it's a check and a balance too, to make sure that everything's going as it appears to be. You know,
Exactly,
there's that candid conversation. It's like, what is, and I just think when I look at this as a parent, a grandparent now, because I've got grandkids, I would safely think this would be a great thing for my grandkids. Of course, they're little right now, but I could see my grandkids, kind of looking at this because they also come from a family that had been a host family. And I keep saying, one of these days I'm going to host. And Barbara's like, when? I'm working on it. I'm working on it because I really want to. I really think it's something that we can do. And that's my husband and I talk about it. And I think it's something that we really want to work towards for sure.
Maybe Fifi can talk about her liaison.
Okay. Be sure. And like I said, turn those microphones right to you when you start talking. Who was your liaison?
So mine was a lady named Madame Isabel, and she was actually the wife of my French teacher there, my French and my theater teacher. And she would always help, contact me to check in on me, see if I have everything going, if my host family's nice. We joke a little, if your host family isn't right, you can contact me. And
Yeah.
we'd all laugh about it. I actually contacted her a few days ago. She still helps me with stuff like school and credits. If I have any problems, she'll contact me or I'll contact her. And she
That
was
is
really helpful
wonderful.
through the whole process.
I love that. So there's just all kinds of volunteer opportunities. So, did you say that you're a liaison as well?
I am a liaison for we have a student here from Nigeria.
Okay. So
And-
while you're hosting Tilda, you're a liaison for them.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Okay. And so, what kind of experiences has this student had that you're a liaison for? Has it been good for him?
It's been a good experience for him.
Yeah.
He actually goes to the same school that Tilda's going to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 3 kids placed in that school.
Okay. Okay. And
And
how's his English?
it's good. He came in with a really good understanding of English and he's got some of the best handwriting I've seen.
I think that's true of particularly our French students and our German students because they're taught how to write. So their cahiers or their books they look like they're printed. That's what I always thought. Does yours look like yours is printed?
Absolutely not.
Your handwriting's not great. That's really funny because as a teacher, handwriting of our kids is atrocious. And I mean, I've my Americans, my kiddos in my class, I'm like, because they're all on devices. Everything's done through texting and digitally, and so they don't necessarily have to write. Well, you do. There are things you need to write, and so that's one thing. Yeah,
It does make a difference in our students coming in. My children who were in the French system in school, actually, their cahiers look like a printed copy almost.
Wow.
And they're done with red, they're done with yellow, they're done with green, which mean various things. So it was a real advantage when they came back to realize that, they could take notes.
Oh,
Because
wow.
the people in their classes couldn't.
Oh, yeah. I know.
And that was a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
But we don't teach that. We don't really teach doing that. So that's something that, can you speak to that about your handwriting? Yeah, in France?
Did it improve?
Oh, definitely. My handwriting was interesting before I left, and then when I was over there, their notebooks, their handwriting. So they have 2 separate handwritings. So they have their own cursive that they have to learn. I'm pretty sure my host sisters, because I had 2 little host sisters. One was 7, one was 5. And I'm pretty sure while they're up to a certain grade level, you have to write using that handwriting, that cursive handwriting. And then when you get older, you don't have to use it. But my friend, her name's Jad, while I was there, she was one of my best friends there. Her handwriting, beautiful. It looks printed. Their notebooks, they all have these notebook systems. They're so great. And I came back and I was like, I should have brought some stuff back.
Yeah.
I have all my handwriting in my notebooks from here, and it's like, I just wish I had them.
It's keep the skill, because if you were trained, you can keep it up. I'm curious. You said, is their cursive writing different than ours? Would I be able to read it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You
Okay,
can,
so it's cursive.
If you
It's
can read
common
French.
cursive. Well, there's that.
I just be kidding.
Ha ha ha! You're funny. Is French one of your languages?
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah, I can't read French. I'm terrible. I speak English. I had one of my kids yesterday go talking about languages, and he was calling it American and Spanish, and I was like, "Oh, it's English, darling. English and Spanish." But he was like, "I speak something about putting something in American," and I'm like, "English. It's called English." Anyway. So the as far as that, the cursive though, would you be able to adapt the cursive way that they wrote to your English?
to be honest, when I'm doing my work right now, I'll use the cursive they have there because I'd say it's pretty much the same.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I haven't learned the cursive we have here that well to put them side by side and say, oh, this, but
I got you.
I'd say you can definitely.
Yeah,
You
it
can
would
definitely read
adapt. Okay. Because that's the thing. We've stopped teaching cursive. I bet you didn't have cursive in your early grades.
I think I learned a little bit about it in second grade. I had
Okay.
a lesson very end of the year about cursive.
Yeah.
The first cursive lesson I had was in France.
Okay. And I'm blown away by children that I've got high school students that have never written in cursive and can't read cursive writing. And that means you won't be able to read our historical documents. That's the thing that blows me away, what they don't realize. If you don't learn cursive writing, there's so many historical documents that are written in cursive you won't be able to read. You go to Washington and go look at the original documents and you're like, well, what is that? Because it was written very eloquently. Eloquent, would that be proper? No, almost,
Eloquently.
yeah, eloquently. Is that not just a speech word and also a? I'm trying to think about how you would apply that. I'm talking to smart people here. Eloquent. I speak eloquently. Can y'all write eloquently? In the style
I
of
don't know
writing.
why not.
Now I'm wanting to look up. Now I'm wanting to get out my Hey Google. That's what I tell my kids all the time. I'm 62 years old, so I'm Miss Barbara and we've seen the transition of education and how Google was a thing called an encyclopedia when we were when we were kids. Do y'all even know what an encyclopedia is? Okay, I digress. I tell you what, let me do my break. And like Mr. Wooten, we had reached out to see about him coming in, and that's okay. I'd love to keep these lovely folks for the entirety of the hour because there's so much to talk about. Just kind of be thinking about how we want to spend our next 30 minutes. Number one, maybe let's talk about what kind of volunteers you need.
That was the next thing I had.
I'm thinking the same way. And girls, I want y'all to really think about if there was something that just really has hit you during your experience beyond that. We talked about the nice and the things like that. Maybe something that's just been real impactful. It's like, man, I saw this and witnessed this and I will never forget that. If you haven't had anything that you can think of, that's okay. And, maybe even when you traveled as a foreign exchange student, if you had something like that. Because since what year were you a foreign exchange student? I'm curious.
I went over there to 84, 85.
Okay. All right. So you're not as young as you look.
No,
I thought
I'm-
he was younger. So, yeah, okay. All right. Well, let me do my break, and y'all kind of be thinking about those things, and we'll kind of make the round around the room. And we'll start with Barbara when we come back about what you need from us for the program. Okay. But while they're thinking, I'm letting those little wheels turn. We're going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. There's so many things, when I start talking about them, I go so many different directions because this is a time of the year there's just so much to say, especially because we're approaching the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival. I asked Tilda when we sat down, we were playing, the Ramblers. Do you know what bluegrass is? And it's a festival, the Bluegrass Festival. If you've never experienced bluegrass, guys, you need to really come and check it out because that is just one of the purest festivals you can go to because it is literally in one of our oldest historical parks here in Robertson County, or it's to honor the Kilgore family and Kilgore, who was one of the first settlers in this area, and you'll get to hear that story. It's down in this little hollow that's kind of the natural acoustics of this park is just brilliant. And it's an old tobacco barn that's been renovated into a stage and also a place for a dance in the back. It is so cool, but that is where I met. I always talk about that when we're, coming up on the festival, because that's where I met Barry and Rebecca. They recruited me to come and host the festival. I met them right out of the gate because they're some of the founding board members. They are founding sponsors, still sponsor it and help with that to this day. And from the very moment we met, we have just been fast friends because I love what they do. Now, Barry that was back when he was still a marketer up in Nashville. He was vice president of a media marketing company, so he and I really connected right out of the gate because of my broadcast career. And then Rebecca, she's one of those that I love because she redefined herself. She started out as a radiologist. She raised her kids, and then she was wanting to do something different. So when she was going back into the workforce, she'd gotten interested in real estate, and she said, okay, I want a company that's going to have every box check that I need as I build this new career. And that's what she found in Exit. And so as she's got her career now, she's been at this a long time, one of the first in the area to be a senior real estate specialist. Barry's been full-time in real estate for about 5 years now. He's got a brokerage office in Springfield. She has her agency office out in White House. They combined the two to bring you Exit Prime Realty. It's still part of the Exit team, just a new branch in that tree. And they would love to mentor you, just like they were mentored into real estate. If it's something you're interested in, I've sent some high school students their way. I have a friend that's a refugee from Ukraine that I sent that way. And they've been able to connect her with somebody that's somebody that moved here from Ukraine to help her because she was a real estate agent in Ukraine. And so when she left during the war, she came here and she's like, well, she's working in a restaurant, but she loved to work in what she had when she was back home. So just all those things. That's why I love them so much. So if you want to reach out to them, of course, you'll see them at the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival, May 16th and 17th. You can call them anytime, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or you can Google them, Rebecca Richards, Barry Richards, Exit Prime Realty, sellwithbecky.com, buy, robertsoncounty.com, but be sure that they know you heard about it right here on 1100 WSGI, and then is the public relations person for AFS here in this area. And, before we leave today, I want you to unpack what AFS is because a lot of people still, as much as we've talked about it, don't really know the background, but we'll come back around to that. For volunteers, what do you need right now?
We need volunteers.
I got you. But in what capacity? Of course,
the one thing about our volunteering, it's a little bit different than many other organizations where, you go to a meeting every month and you get a newsletter every month. And
right.
It's not exactly like that. We really need volunteers all the time, but we want the volunteers to say, this is what I would like to do, or this is what I would like to do. Or also on a basis of we have a need. We didn't know we were going to have that particular need, but could you help us do that? Like, for instance, today when I called on Eric to help us with this program. Mm-hmm. The volunteers to apply to be a volunteer, I think, is one of the things that people might want to know. We do have to have a background check. We do have to have references. And once we have completed those, then we still go through a training program. And so our volunteers are registered, certified volunteers. We're not just members. We don't just belong. So by being that, we also are like insured when we are doing something for the program. So, for instance, like if say we had a car accident or something happened to any of us, we would be covered. So those are things that are not generally covered by a lot of other organizations. And some people want to do just one thing. I have one volunteer here actually in Clarksville who was over HR at Georgia Tech. And she primarily wants to do the interviewing for those scholarships that I mentioned earlier. And she will do 20, 23, 24, how many. We do have help with that. Mm-hmm. But that's her contribution each year because she was used to being able to actually work with students on Zoom. Mm. That's something that some of the rest of us who've gotten older and used to working one-on-one with people are not so good at. Mm-hmm. But as the HR at Georgia Tech, she was really good at it, so she loves doing it. And that's just one example of someone who wants, this is what I want to do. Eric came in, and I think he was open to do whatever we ask him to do, and we certainly appreciate folks like that. And we never know always what we need, but we do go as the school year goes on, I mean, first, if we started right now, we're looking for students to go.
Okay.
Now, you can go online and find out if there's space, because there's space in some countries, but there's not space in other countries. But at the same time, then we're also always looking for volunteers, and and at this time of year, we're really trying to contact as many people as we can who we think might make good host families. Some folks like to be liaisons, and they don't really like to don't say necessarily cold call people, but they don't want to do certain things. For instance, like we have a new treasurer. Well, something happened to our treasurer, so we now have a new treasurer, and we have to have several chairs that we are lacking presently. So
You're on your board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when we get new volunteers, we let them know these are available. Is this something that you might like to do?
Okay.
And once all that's done, then we can look online for the students ourselves. We can see the pictures. The families who are looking for a host cannot see the students' pictures.
Really?
They can only just see until they have signed up that they want to host.
Okay.
And then a volunteer will be visiting them, making a home visit, and then they will have to do the same things that they had to do. In other words, they'll have to, have recommendations. They'll have to have everything checked out so that they can host.
Right.
But they have to make an application before they actually can see the pictures.
Okay.
So volunteering can be interesting. We're getting ready to be at the Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. What do I want to call it?
Up at Austin P?
No.
Wilma Rudolph Boulevard in Clarksville, or
It's actually the Expo Center.
Oh, okay. Right.
At the Expo Center.
Okay.
And we'll be there for the 7th grade career fair for 2 days. So we need quite a few of our volunteers to help us those days. So that's interesting. We also do like other festivals.
Well, it's like where I met you guys was at the arts festival that Willow Oak put on.
Right.
That's where I met y'all for the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
So those often are done by our volunteers. Okay. And, you can volunteer to do that. We try to let you know in advance those needs. And so that kind of tells you pretty much about volunteering.
Okay.
And, of course, you can always volunteer for something that you think needs to be done in your area, wherever you are, that you think you see a need for. For instance, like a ball game, you could have a table at a ball game.
Okay.
Any sport, you just need to have permission to do anything like that the school system would let you do, or going to the schools, or like also just recently we did for Dr. Seuss Week. Yeah, Vivi read all the places you'll go at the Books A Million.
Right. I remember you having, I just didn't have an opening because you had sent me, she wanted me to come in and talk about that. And I would just I think it was right after spring break or something. And we were just so full up, we didn't have an open slot for you. But I thought that was really cool. What an appropriate book to read for AFS, so that's very cool. So I love that. Did you have something else there?
Well, no, you might want to ask anything about volunteering. Eric might want to add something about volunteering.
Let's go ahead and let we'll kind of pass the mic on. Just keep thinking if there's anything. And I'm making notes along the way of questions you've made me think to ask, but I want to ask them if like I have a question for Fee here in just a second. But it's easy, I promise. Anyway, so I'll tell you what. I'll ask her the same question that I'm going to ask Fee. How did you hear about AFS? How did you find out? Because Miss Barbara was saying she's going to be at a career festival, something like that. How did you hear about this program and become interested in it? I'm curious about that, and that'll be the same question for you. Okay.
So I found out about my mom because my mom went to the U.S., of course, when she was my age.
Okay, so you're an AFS family.
I always had it in mind, and then I really wanted to go.
Okay.
I actually visited her best friend from back then.
That's so cool.
Spring break.
That's so cool.
In Oregon, yeah, it was really cool.
In Oregon?
Yeah.
Wow. How fun. Because, America is just such a big, it's just a big land mass in comparison to Europe. So was that kind of shocking to you that you have to get on a plane and fly to another state rather than a train in a few hours?
I mean,
to go to a country.
If you sign up for the program and say USA, you can get everything. It's like saying I go to Europe. Like it's even bigger. So
yeah.
I mean, I know that, but it's still hard to believe sometimes.
Yeah, it is when you're wrapping your head around it.
Totally.
So
that you can fly over one country for hours and hours.
Yes, it is. I get it. I'm getting ready to go to San Diego and then down to Mexico. I already booked my flight, and it's a long flight. And that's not really that long of a flight, but it's still
a flight.
Yeah, it's better. You don't want to drive it. It takes too long to drive it. So
there are people who think it over in Europe like. Yeah, we're just going to do a road trip. We're going to go to New York and then LA. And
good luck with that.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, well, you could, but it's going to take a minute. It's going to take you a little time. So that question I asked you to think about before I took my break, is there something that you're just like, man, I will never forget this?
I couldn't think of like one moment or something, but one thing I realized while I was here is like, I think everybody will realize when they go abroad, like how much your culture is part of you. Like, because I never knew like how German I am, and
that's great. I love that.
I talk about all the German stuff. We do it like this. We do it like this, and then they're like, "Yeah," and you always talk about.
You're fine, Barbie. Just go ahead.
About how great Germany is, and then I'm like, "No, I don't think Germany is great at all."
but you're part of your culture.
Totally, and
you're part of your culture.
Never knew.
Yeah, that's cool. I have a lot of immigrant friends, and I mentioned Ukraine, and I have a dear friend who is a Ukraine refugee, and bless him, you see him, and he's always got his Ukraine stuff on. He is a proud Ukrainian. I get so tickled at him, but he's like. Yes, I get that. I love that.
Yeah,
that's beautiful, though, that you realize that now.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So I'm German. There you go. I love it.
I didn't know that there was so much behind that. I don't know. It's crazy.
That is very cool. That's a very interesting observation. Okay, so the same question to you, Fee, is what is something, can you pinpoint something you're like, wow, that was an experience I will never forget when I was in France?
Well, okay, it's not more of one particular experience, but one thing I did over and over again, which was playing games. So
okay,
like card games with my host family or card games with my friends at school. I remember that's the thing that opened me up the quickest, because even here when I play card games, I get really competitive. So when I go over there, one of the first nights I was there, we played a card game. It was a new card game. I learned a bunch of new card games over there. I actually brought a few home.
Okay.
But we played a card game there, and I remember the second they taught me the rules, I got competitive so fast.
Oh, how funny.
It instantly melted down the nervousness I had. And then I bought a card game. I brought it to school. And because we had breaks there are really long. So there's like an hour break. We had multiple hour breaks, but one of them I brought a card game, and we just played it the whole time. I remember cracking up with my friend. It was a great time.
So, okay, now my kiddos, if any of them hear this, going, did you hear that? They have all these breaks at school, and we're just like, go, 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 go. So so it's more laid back in school?
No.
Oh, no? Okay, well, you said you had breaks. What do you mean by that?
We had to have a break. So
okay.
Here we have 7:30 to 2:20, then we have like clubs. Over there, I found that even if I woke up later, I wake up around 5. Over there, I woke up around 6 for school. I would wake up around 5 every day here before I would like go to the school system there, because you wake up at 6. I took the train. I got there, and then I got to school, and it started around, I want to say 8. But classes, I had a different schedule every day. So I remember the first day, every Monday, I started at 8, and let me do the conversion because 1600 in my mind is. I didn't leave school until it was 6 p.m. So especially during the winter, I would go there. I'd leave in the morning, it's dark. When I'm taking the bus back, it's dark.
Wow.
And so if I didn't have a break, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, so it's intense, huh?
Yes, it's very intense.
I went to school in France for 2 weeks on a like small exchange, and school in France is tough. Like it's long.
It is tough.
So it's long. Is it academically difficult then, or is it just that the length of time? Is do they hold to a higher academic standard?
I would say yes, and I feel like it's very, in some aspects it's similar. For example, math. I didn't find math much different. I found the different formulas they use, different equations they use, and the math problems were different than the way I would have solved them or we would have been taught here. But I know one thing, chemistry, maybe it's because at the time I wasn't like very fluent on the language, so chemistry was very difficult for me. But the labs they had, I got to participate in a bunch of different labs there, and I think that was one of my favorite parts of school. The labs there are much more intense and to a higher level. They have more different machines you can use for different stuff, and that was one of my favorite experiences there at school.
Okay, interesting. Because as a teacher, because I'm a teacher, and academics is something that's just we're trying to restore in America, because we've fallen to the wayside in so many ways, and in some schools so much more than others. But I mean, we've just got to get our academics back up to where they need to be, and so that's why I wanted to ask that question, is how we compare to France, and how does our academics compare to Germany?
It's really easy here. For me, I'm just used to.
Yeah.
We don't. I love multiple choice tests. Like, you just don't have to study. You just go there and think about it, and then it's somehow working out.
Do you not have multiple choice tests in Germany?
Never seen in my life.
I'm going to be honest with you. That's one of the things that I have discovered as a teacher, is the necessity of multiple choice tests, and it frustrates me greatly, because I've got some students that you cannot get it through to. I mean, I get frustrated, and I have had to fall back on multiple choice, word bank test, and things like that, just to help the students that just can't keep up. And when I find a student that can very clearly convey an answer in a short, like I give them a question and they can give me the answer, and it's dead on, then I know I've got somebody that's where they need to be, up to standards academically. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of multiple choice and all that kind of stuff, but it's kind of what we've gotten to, and they don't have that in Germany. I'm going to clip this out and show it to my kids. So we're going to fix this.
They also might want to tell you about helping each other and staying with the same group in Germany. Can you address that a bit? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, our system works completely differently, because I'm with the same 25 people all for 4 years.
Oh,
and
really?
I have all my classes with the same people, and we are in the same room, and the teachers walk around and get to the different rooms, to the different classes. So if you're with annoying people, it really sucks. But if you're...
That was going to be my next question. It's but what if you don't like them?
Then it's really bad. But you get a way bigger, your people, you're 25 people there, you're friends, you hang out. With my class, I hang out all the time. We just have a group set, and it's your friends, it's your group. So you can make friends, because you're with the same people all the time. So.
Yeah. Well, see, it's so funny, because as a teacher here in the state, in America, one of the first things I noticed are the friendships because of the alphabet. Because I have kids that are sitting next to each other because they alphabetically fall in line in their class. They're the junior class, and they're in the V's, and they sit beside each other, and there's friendships there because they've been beside each other really since kindergarten, and it's quite funny. But that's very interesting. I had never heard of that.
Yeah, we only switch those every 4 years.
Wow.
And in elementary school, it's all one. That's 2 years and then 4 years again. So
okay.
I think in France they switch every year, right?
I think they had a lot of close friendships when I got there. So people all already knew each other. So I think it's kind of similar. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Very interesting. Did you have did I ask the question? I said, where did you find out about this program?
So it was funny. So my mom actually found out for me, because we just moved. We didn't move into Clarksville, but we moved in the area. We just moved into the Sango area. And my mom met this lady called Miss Mary, and she's friends with Miss Barbara. And she gave her a card, who I think was originally for my older brother, Eric, but he was at the senior year.
And so he wasn't really interested,
He's not very interested in travel. But I saw the card one day. I was at my computer desk. I wasn't really doing anything. But I saw the card on the desk. And I was like, I'll search it up. Because I love traveling. I wanted to travel all my life. And I've never been out of the U.S. until the exchange program. And so I searched it up, and I signed up. And it wasn't until, I'm, almost near the first part of the whole application, I called my mom, I looked at the card up here, and I signed up. But I need your help for the rest of this. She's like, when you do that?
Surprise! I'm going to go. That's great. But the card, just a business card. Very good. I love that. Y'all had just very different experiences to get into it. Okay, so Eric, how did you get to be a foreign exchange student in the 80s, man? Come
I
on.
honestly don't recall.
You don't come on.
I was having that conversation with
You're
somebody the other
funny.
day, and I was trying to figure out if it was a bulletin in my church
Yeah.
or piece of paper on the wall at school.
It was just something caught
But
your eye. Kind of
My
like it
high
did for
school,
Fifi.
my high school did host kids,
Okay.
so
Okay. So
we
you had some,
so I
yeah.
knew of kids that had been there. We always,
Mhm.
my high school always hosted something like 2 to 4 kids every year.
Okay.
So we had that exposure, so I was aware of it.
Right.
And it was like, hey, this looked of interest.
Yeah.
I applied to go with AFS and then also with Rotary.
Okay.
They were doing a program at the time. I honestly don't know if they still do it or not.
Yeah. I don't.
So,
They do.
Okay.
yeah,
Really?
they do.
Okay.
I know
Interesting.
someone, yeah.
And I ended up, I got an offer through AFS and went that way.
And remind me again, which country?
I went to Finland.
You went to Finland. So did you, same question that I had for the girls, did you have an experience you're just like, man, I'll never forget that?
So the experience that I actually always come back to for Finland is the holidays.
Mm.
Christmas, New Year's are very common. Everybody really kind of celebrates that.
Right.
What really hit me that when it was realization that I was no longer, proverbially in Kansas anymore, was it was the third Thursday in, November. I come home from school and I'm by myself. There's no one else in the house. And my host mom had made a potato casserole. And that was when it was like, oh, darn. This is Thanksgiving dinner for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's
No
like,
one
what happened
cares.
to Thanksgiving? Well, it's so funny. I've heard people talk about there's, and I can't remember the name of the podcast, but there is a podcast that it's a American guy and it's a British guy, and they're talking specifically about the holidays. And the American guy says to the British guy, he says, "So what do y'all what do y'all think about 4th of July?" And he goes, "We don't think anything about it." And just kind of like, duh. And I guess it would be the same thing with Thanksgiving. He was just kind of dumbfounded, like, well, that's a stupid question. We don't think anything about it. It means nothing to us.
And at that
And, I
time,
got tickled.
we didn't have the social, so I didn't have any
Yeah.
opportunity to reach out to any of the other students that were there with me, and
Yeah.
it was like,
So, hey, you want to get together and have Thanksgiving?
yeah, I couldn't do that. So
Yeah.
I was kind of commiserating on my own as I'm
Oh,
eating a potato pie, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, that's hysterical. That's funny. Did you say you still stay in touch
I
with
still
your?
stay in touch with them.
That's cool. That's really cool. I just love those experiences.
I wanted to spend a few minutes real quick. It was
Yeah, go
talking
ahead. We've got
about
a few minutes. Go
was
ahead.
my experience of being a host father.
Yes, go right ahead.
Because, as part of the volunteer, we're always looking for host parents.
Right.
And, you asked a question earlier also about the financial part for the kids. I want
Right.
to talk a little bit about financial for the host parents.
That'd be a great thing to touch
So
on.
when we did this, I actually got an email from AFS because I've been donating to AFS charity-wise ever since I went.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a couple of emails every year from them, and it was like, hey, would you like to host? And I reached out to my wife, and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of interested in this. Let's take a look at it. So
Mm-hmm.
we responded. AFS then contacted us and was like, hey, we're here. You're interested. Would you, what kind of student are you looking for? And they, you got a couple different criteria you can specify. You're looking for by gender, or you want, are they vegetarian, non-vegetarian,
Right.
or, religious
Yeah.
beliefs, other things.
Well, it's like if you have a house full, if you've got little girls, and you're like, oh, I think a big sister influence,
Yeah.
and you're looking specifically for that. I get that.
So
Absolutely.
you can, and then you get and so then they did that, and I got 3 profiles, and the
Okay.
profiles are really kind of, they're high level profiles. There is no picture, but some of the profiles have an audio clip, so you can actually have an audio clip, so you can hear the student in their own voice
Mm-hmm.
talk about what, kind of do a meet the family type letter.
Mm-hmm.
We did that. It was like, okay, hey, we like this student. We put a hold on Tilda.
Mm-hmm.
At that time. We had not yet seen a picture. We then ended up having to go through the background check and et cetera. And about a couple days later, we passed that. We got to see the picture. And she was actually in our house within 2 weeks of us actually
Wow.
doing this.
Uh,
please host students. It's really horrible to be at home and the summer goes on and you don't have a family and you plan on going.
Oh,
And I was terrified. But then I got the email and I was like, oh my gosh, thank God. Like,
oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought about it from your perspective. Because, Barbara will come in here or Becky and we'll talk about, well, we've got this student that's waiting. How excruciating.
yes.
God bless, yeah.
You sign up and they tell you we will find a family. But then you start doubting that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Bless. I bet that's a stress for a kid. Oh my.
It's also stress for us.
I've seen baby, we're like, oh, we've got this student. We got to find a host. Got to find family.
Because we come down to the wire.
To the wire. Mm-hmm.
And I've done a lot of jobs in my lifetime. I will tell you, finding a host family is the hardest job I have ever done in the whole world.
Wow. Yeah.
And because you don't know when you're just speaking to people, and that's why we ask our volunteers to do this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the plane, if you're on the elevator, if you're at the Kroger, wherever you are, if you see me most anywhere, you'll see I still have material.
Mm-hmm.
And I can talk to the world about hosting a student.
Mm-hmm.
So because, it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not for everybody. But it's for a whole lot of people who hadn't thought about it. Might be for them.
I think so too. It's one of those things. I haven't convinced my husband it's the path for us yet. I mean, he's still kind of on the fence, but I'll get him there. I'm just convinced I will, and because I just think, to me, I just think it's just, I love doing mission work. I love doing. I work with immigrant families, and he will tell you probably one of the most beautiful experiences in our life has been the time we spent with our Egyptian friends teaching English second language for a couple of years. He and I did that together, and we have still got just the most beautiful friendships. And I think, well, that's just an extension of that experience is what we've had. And so I think because of that and how wonderful that experience has been for us, because we're still very close with several of the families that we worked with, I think he'll be like, oh, okay. I think I'll get him on board. But you have something you want to say, Eric?
So, I mean, when you're talking about, we asked a question about the financial, the student actually pays for a lot of it to come over. As a host family, your financial obligation really is room and board.
Really, that's it.
And that's really it.
So if you can have somebody else at the table and you got a spare room, you got it covered.
You don't even need a room, actually.
You just
need a bed.
You're hysterical.
But they need to have a bed of their own.
Yes, of course. But you don't want to bunk with the 2-year-old, right?
But it's that part of it, and I keep trying to emphasize that when I talk to people, is that we're not looking for you to spend a year's tuition on a student. That's not what it is.
Right.
And the financial, it's like, you just feed them and give them shelter.
Take them to the ball game, things like that. Do some things with them, but other than that.
And we're not asking families to, if you don't normally go to Disney World, don't go to Disney World.
Yeah.
You're not asked to do that.
That kind of stuff, yeah.
Just involve that student with your family, with your life, and introduce them to that. Every student that comes over here has a different experience.
Uh-huh. Very good. Very good. And we're out of time, guys. We are completely out of time. Any parting thoughts before we go, Barbara?
Well, the only thing I was going to say is what I always say to families. They say, how much is it going to cost? And I say, well, it depends. If you eat out a lot, yes, it's going to cost.
Well, because you have an extra person going out to eat.
If you cook, you got just one more person to cook. And when we've had families, and you remember when Mito was here, and there were 5 people in the family, and he was number 6, she said you just put a little bit more in the pot.
Absolutely.
So I think that's basically it. And I know financially everybody is worried about that.
Yeah.
But the families, the students, we do have the exchange students who are scholarship people. They are coming with $200 a month spending money.
Right. So they've got that covered. And I'll tell you too, if you're somebody that's concerned about it, talk to your community. And you may have some people in the community say, hey, if you think you're going to have some extra expense, I'm going to host a student. Could you, I bet you could find some friends and family that would probably contribute to the extra cost in your household, because it's like we were trying to raise money for the track team and people just have been pouring. They're like, absolutely, we'll buy this. We'll do, because it's for the kids. And so when you've got something that's this cool for kiddos, if you think, man, it could put a strain on my family, I guarantee you got a neighbor somewhere that'll be like, oh, yeah, I'll help you with that. I can spare a few dollars to help you with that. I guarantee you can find it pretty easily. You can start at your church, but you can knock on your neighbor's door too. Any parting thoughts, girls, before we go? Because, I mean, we got to all get to school.
Thank you for having us.
Anytime, Barbara. I thank you so much for your persistence. I love you so much. And so nice to meet you, Tilda. So nice to meet you, Fifi.
Nice to meet you.
And, well, and you're going to be around, so maybe I'll get to visit with you. Yeah, I'll get to visit with her more, but God bless you. You've been a delight.
Maybe she'll go another year somewhere.
I don't blame you. I would too. If I would go in a heartbeat. Well, y'all have just inspired me. Y'all are just so cool. It's so fun talking to them. So, want to be a host family? You got a kid that wants to travel? This is it. AFS. How can they get in touch with AFS? Give them the contact.
Okay, online, afsusa.org/. And if you're looking at hosting, it'll be HOST, and that's where you can find those 700 mini bios.
Okay.
Or you also can go to the Miss Tenky, which is AFSUSA.org/MISSTENNKY/ to the left.
And that's that region for
that's
us.
That's
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And there you also can go to that if you're interested in going for volunteering. You can go there, but you also can go to the main one.
Okay.
If you want to see everything, it's AFSUSA.org/the left impact, PACT.
Okay.
And that's
there
it
you
as
go.
far as getting. And if you get in touch with them and you want to volunteer or host, that's going to come back to one of us as volunteers.
And I'll tell you, if you go AFS and just do the Google,
it will work out.
It'll find you. It'll work. I love it. It'll work. I love it. God bless you guys. Thank you for joining us. This is 1100 WSGI. Have a fabulous day.